First Contact and Confrontation. The observation deck of Outpost Sigma-7 offered a commanding view of the nameless planet below. Captain Maya Reeves stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the swirling violet clouds that obscured the surface. After 15 years in the United Earth Forces, she thought she'd seen it all. But something about this world made her skin prickle with unease. "Captain," Lieutenant Diaz's voice crackled through her comms. "We've detected another signal burst from the southern hemisphere. Same pattern as before." Maya's eyes narrowed. "Any progress on decoding it?" "Negative. It doesn't match any known language patterns in our database." The planet had been designated PX-4729, a seemingly barren rock on the outer edge of explored space. Initial scans had shown no obvious signs of intelligent life, just strange crystalline formations that their sensors couldn't properly analyze. But for 3 days now, something had been broadcasting bursts of complex data directly toward their outpost. "Prepare a landing party," Maya decided. "I want boots on the ground within the hour." "Captain," Commander Winters interrupted, his holographic projection appearing beside her. "Central Command advises against direct contact. The signal patterns suggest technological capability beyond our current understanding." Maya turned to face the hologram. "With respect, Commander, if there's intelligent life down there, we need to know what we're dealing with." Winters' expression remained impassive. "Your orders are to monitor and report only, Captain. A battle group is already en route to your position." The connection terminated, leaving Maya alone with her thoughts. A battle group meant one thing. Central Command was treating this as a potential threat. The militarization of First Contact had been standard procedure since the Proxima incident, but Maya had never agreed with the shoot-first philosophy. 6 hours later, against direct orders, Maya's shuttle broke through the violet clouded layer. Lieutenant Diaz piloted while Maya and 3 security officers prepared for landing. "Those formations are moving," Specialist Cruz whispered, watching the scanner. The crystalline structures they'd observed from orbit were indeed shifting, rearranging themselves in complex patterns that seemed almost purposeful. As they touched down on the rocky surface, Maya felt a vibration through the shuttle's hull, subtle but unmistakable. A greeting? A warning? She couldn't tell. "Full envirosuits," she ordered. Standard First Contact protocols. The landscape that greeted them was unlike anything in Maya's experience. Massive crystalline spires rose from the ground, their surfaces refracting the dim light of the distant sun into prismatic patterns. What had appeared as random formations from orbit now revealed themselves as intricate structures, eerily reminiscent of a city. "Captain," Diaz said quietly, "those aren't structures. They're alive." Maya's eyes widened as she saw it. The subtle pulsing of light within the crystal formations, the way they shifted and grew even as they watched. The entire landscape was a single vast organism, or perhaps a colony of organisms. A high-pitched tone suddenly emanated from the largest spire, vibrating through their suits. The sound pattern matched exactly the signal they detected from orbit. "They're trying to communicate," Maya realized. "Or they're calling for reinforcements," Lieutenant Kent countered, raising his pulse rifle. "Stand down," Maya snapped. "No hostile actions." She took a step toward the nearest formation, a crystalline structure about 3 meters tall that seemed to be observing them. As she approached, the crystal's surface rippled, and a portion of it extended toward her, forming something like an appendage. "Captain," Kent warned, "don't touch it." Maya ignored him. Something about the creature's movements suggested curiosity rather than aggression. She slowly extended her hand, palm open in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. The crystal entity pulsed with light, and the appendage gently touched her gloved hand. Instantly, Maya's suit computer began processing an influx of data, complex mathematical sequences, astronomical coordinates, and what appeared to be biological information. "They're sharing knowledge," she breathed, "not threatening us." The moment was shattered by the sound of approaching shuttles. Maya looked up to see 5 military dropships descending through the clouds, their weapon systems clearly activated. "This is Commander Winters of the UEF Dauntless," a voice boomed through the comm. "Captain Reeves, you and your team are ordered to withdraw immediately. These entities have been classified as a potential extinction-level threat." Maya stared in disbelief. Based on what evidence? Their crystalline structure matches descriptions from the Arcturus archives. Silicon-based life forms that assimilate technology and biological matter. They're called the Obsidians, and they've destroyed at least 3 civilizations that we know of. The crystal beam beside Maya pulsed rapidly, its light patterns shifting to deep red. All around them, the crystalline city began to move, spires extending upward as if reaching for the ships above. "They're responding to the threat," Maya realized. "Commander, stand down. They were peaceful until you arrived." "They're mobilizing," Winters responded coldly. "All units, prepare to engage." Maya turned to the crystal being still connected to her suit. "Please," she said, knowing it couldn't understand her words, but hoping it might comprehend her intent. "Don't make this worse." To her surprise, the entity's lights shifted to a calm blue. The appendage still touching her hand formed intricate patterns, and her suit displayed a simple image: a human figure and a crystal formation, standing side by side. "They understand," Maya whispered. "Commander Winters, you need to see this. They're trying to communicate peacefully." "You've been compromised, Captain," came the reply. "Stand aside or be considered hostile." Maya made her decision. She positioned herself between the crystal being and the hovering dropships. "I will not allow an unauthorized attack on a sentient species that has shown no aggression. Final warning, Captain. Step aside." The crystal being suddenly enveloped Maya in a protective cocoon of translucent material. Rather than feeling trapped, she realized it was protecting her. Through the crystalline surface, she could see targeting lasers painting the ground around them. Within the cocoon, Maya's suit computer began displaying images at incredible speed: star maps, technical diagrams, and images of massive predatory vessels that resembled nothing in Earth's database. The crystal beam wasn't the threat. It was warning them about something else entirely. "Commander," Maya shouted into her comm, "they're trying to warn us about an actual threat. Something's coming, something that hunts both humans and these crystals. You have 30 seconds to step away from that thing, Captain," Winters replied coldly. Maya watched in horror as the dropships moved into attack formation. She had failed to prevent a catastrophic first contact scenario. But as the weapon systems powered up, the crystal formations across the landscape began to emit a harmonic tone that resonated through the air. The dropships suddenly lost power, drifting helplessly in the violet sky. Maya's own suit continued to function normally inside the protective cocoon. "What did you do?" she asked the crystal being. Her suit displayed another image: a simple demonstration of the harmonic disruption that had disabled the ship's systems without harming them. It wasn't an attack. It was the gentlest defense possible. Commander Winters' voice came through, now tinged with fear. "What's happening?" "All systems are failing." "They could have destroyed you," Maya replied calmly. "Instead, they just gave you a timeout. I suggest you reconsider your approach to first contact, Commander." The crystal beam released Maya from the protective cocoon and extended its appendage again. This time, it formed a shape that unmistakably resembled a human hand. Maya smiled and placed her palm against the crystalline surface. "I think we've got a lot to learn from each other," she said, "if we can just stop trying to destroy things we don't understand." As the violet sun began to set on the horizon, casting the crystalline landscape in amber hues, Maya realized that this choice to understand rather than fear, might well be the turning point in humanity's cosmic journey. Understanding and alliance. As twilight descended on the crystalline landscape, Maya Reeves faced a diplomatic nightmare. The disabled UEF dropships hung in the air, their crews increasingly panicked. Commander Winters' voice had grown from demanding to desperate. Reeves, if you have any influence with these things, tell them to release our ships. We've got life support for 8 hours, max." Maya turned to the obsidian beside her. During the past hour, they had established a rudimentary communication system. The entity would display images and data on her suit's computer, and she would respond verbally, trusting that the creature's evident ability to analyze patterns would help it understand her language. "They're afraid," Maya explained, gesturing to the ships. "Fear leads humans to make bad decisions. If you could restore their power, I might be able to convince them to stand down." The crystal being pulsed with amber light, and Maya's suit displayed an image of the dropships descending safely to the surface. "You want them to land first?" she asked. "That makes sense. It's harder to start a war when you're face to face." Maya activated her comm. "Commander, they're willing to release your ships, but they want you to land. No weapons." After a tense silence, Winters responded, "We don't have much choice, do we?" "They could have destroyed you," Maya reminded him. "Instead, they chose to talk. That should tell you something." One by one, the dropships gently lowered to the surface, guided by invisible forces. As soon as they touched down, their systems reactivated. Maya watched as nervous soldiers emerged, their weapons held reluctantly at their sides despite her instructions. The largest crystal formation, what Maya had begun to think of as the central node of the obsidian network, shifted and flowed, reshaping itself into a rough approximation of a human figure. It was clearly an attempt to appear less alien, less threatening. "That's remarkable," Lieutenant Diaz whispered beside her. Commander Winters approached, his hand resting uneasily on his sidearm. "Captain Reeves, I want an explanation. Now." "They're called the Obsidians," Maya said, gesturing to the crystalline beings around them. "But they aren't what the Arcturus archives described. I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding." The humanoid crystal figure extended its arm, and the ground beneath them shifted. Crystal panels rose and formed a makeshift table with a display surface. Images appeared, star systems, planets, and horrifying biomechanical ships that reminded Maya of oceanic predators. "The Devourers," Maya translated, based on the information the Obsidian had shared earlier. "They're a species that consumes other life forms for sustenance and technology. The Obsidians have been fleeing from them for millennia. And we're supposed to believe this?" Winters asked skeptically. The crystal display showed historical records, the destruction of worlds, the harvesting of both organic and silicon-based life. Then it showed something that made Maya's blood run cold: Earth's coordinates. "The Devourers have found our home," she said quietly. "The Obsidians intercepted their communications. That's why they've been trying to contact us, not to threaten us, but to warn us." "If this is true," Winters said, his military mind quickly shifting to tactical assessment, "why would they help us? What do they gain?" The humanoid crystal being touched the display again, showing two distinct forces, crystal formations and human ships, fighting together against the Devourer vessels. "Alliance," Maya interpreted. "They've been alone in this fight for too long. They need allies as much as we'll need them." Winters looked unconvinced until the display shifted again, showing technical schematics that integrated obsidian crystalline technology with human weapon systems. The potential upgrades were astonishing. Shields that could absorb energy attacks, drives that could outmaneuver anything in Earth's arsenal, and weapons that could penetrate even the most advanced defenses. "This would give us a fighting chance," he admitted reluctantly. The ground beneath their feet suddenly trembled. The obsidian beings throughout the landscape pulsed with alarm, rapid flashes of red and white that needed no translation. "Something's entering the atmosphere," Lieutenant Diaz reported, checking his reactivated scanner. "It's massive, and it's not one of ours." The violet clouds above parted as a dark shape descended. An elongated vessel with organic-looking protrusions and metallic elements that seemed fused rather than constructed. It was smaller than a battlecruiser but moved with predatory precision. Scout ship, Maya realized, based on the images she'd been shown. The Devourers sent it ahead to assess the planet's defenses. The humanoid crystal being gestured urgently at the display, showing the scout ship's capabilities. It could single-handedly sterilize the outpost and would relay Earth's defensive capabilities back to the main fleet. "We can't let it leave," Winters said grimly, military training overriding his distrust of the Obsidians. "Can your allies help us fight this thing?" Maya turned to the crystal being. "Will you fight with us?" The crystal humanoid extended both arms, and the entire landscape began to shift. Crystal spires rose from the ground, orienting themselves like massive weapons batteries. The human-shaped figure itself began to grow, towering nearly 20 meters tall, a crystalline titan ready for battle. "I'll take that as a yes," Maya said with a grin. The Devourer scout ship fired its first salvo, a barrage of plasma that scorched the ground where they had been standing moments before. The crystal titan moved with surprising grace, shielding the humans with its body. The plasma splashed against its crystalline form, causing damage but not destruction. "Get your people to your ships," Maya told Winters. "Use the cannons to provide covering fire. Aim for the organic sections. They're more vulnerable." For once, Winters didn't argue. "All units back to the dropships. Weapons free." As the UEF personnel scrambled for their vessels, the crystalline landscape came alive with activity. Smaller obsidians flowed together, forming defensive structures and offensive weaponry. The towering titan launched crystal spears toward the Devourer ship, each one detonating with considerable force upon impact. The dropships lifted off, their point defense systems firing continually at the scout ship. Maya remained on the ground, her suit computer still linked to the Obsidian network, relaying tactical data between the two allies. "The scout ship's hull is regenerating," she reported to Winters. "But there's a central core that doesn't heal as quickly. If we can hit it with everything at once." "Coordinated strike," Winters agreed. "On your mark, Captain." Maya watched as the crystal titan gathered energy, its form glowing with increasing intensity. Around it, the landscape itself seemed to be focusing power into a single point. "All ships, prepare to fire on my mark," she ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark. The dropships unleashed their payload simultaneously, a barrage of missiles and energy weapons that converged on the Devourer scout ship's central core. At the same instant, the Obsidian Titan released a concentrated beam of energy that cut through the ship's defensive systems. The combined assault breached the scout ship's core. Rather than exploding, the vessel seemed to collapse in on itself, its organic components withering while its mechanical parts failed simultaneously. As the Devourer ship crashed to the surface, the crystal titan turned to face Maya. It knelt down, bringing its face level with hers, and extended one massive hand palm up on the ground before her. Without hesitation, Maya stepped onto the offered palm. The titan raised her up, and through her suit's systems, she received a simple message: Alliance. Commander Winters watched from his dropship as the human captain stood in the palm of a crystal giant that could have crushed her without effort. Instead, it had chosen to protect her, to protect all of them. "Central Command isn't going to believe this," he muttered. 3 months later, a combined fleet of UEF battleships and Obsidian crystal vessels took position in Earth's orbit. The Devourer threat had been confirmed by multiple reconnaissance missions. They were coming, but this time they would find not an isolated planet, but an alliance ready to stand against them. On the bridge of the flagship Defiance, Fleet Admiral Maya Reeves stood beside a humanoid crystal figure. The Obsidian leader, now called Guardian by the human crews, had shared technologies that had transformed Earth's defenses in mere weeks. "You could have destroyed our ships that first day," Maya said quietly. "Why didn't you?" The crystal being's response appeared on her neural interface, a technology that had once been exclusive to the Obsidians, but now allowed seamless communication between the allies. "Your kind fears what you do not understand. So did we once. But destruction breeds only more destruction. When you stood between your people and mine, you showed a different path. Maya nodded, watching as the integrated fleet prepared for the coming battle. Sometimes the bravest thing isn't fighting. It's refusing to fight when everyone expects you to. And sometimes, Guardian replied, the bravest thing is standing together against a common enemy. As the first Devourer ships emerged from hyperspace, humanity faced its greatest challenge not alone, but with allies who had once been mistaken for enemies. The crystal beings who had submitted to humanity's understanding rather than its weapons had transformed a potential extinction event into the dawn of a new cosmic age. And it had all begun with one captain's decision to protect rather than destroy.